A gong.
Gong.
We are live.
We're live. Good morning. Good morning, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, wherever else we are.
Good morning. Good morning, Bertie.
Good morning, Deborah.
Deborah.
Deborah. Getting
How
ready
are
for the
you
weekend. Yes, very well. Very well, thank you. Just having an argument with Amazon customer services, but we won't go into details about that.
Come on, and I'm having a similar one with PC World. So it's
Oh.
all about the buying things and the
Yeah.
arguing. But we're not talking about that today, are we?
No, we're not. No, we're not. We're talking about customer personas off the back of our chats last week about the thingy statements.
Steer.
I was going to say STEM then. Steer statements.
Steer statements. Yes. Yeah, so we were going to talk about customer personas because the steer statements we talked about last week, they help you to dig into your customers a bit more, don't they? Thinking about what situation they're in, their thoughts, their emotions, their actions, and then the results that they take. So we wanted to take a step back and talk about how you might define the customers that you want to work with.
That's right. And it just helps you with, rather than just going for a big scattergun approach with your marketing and who you're targeting, it just helps you narrow down then and figure out exactly what your customers are, what they're doing. So I think customer personas is a natural extension. Well, it's part of it, isn't it? It's just a different way of looking at it. It's different terminology really to the steer statement.
Yeah, and some people call them ideal customers, some people call them customer personas. They're all sorts of things, and I think how many of these you have depends on the size of your organization. So most people, when they're a small business like a solo entrepreneur, they're probably going to have one ideal customer persona. Good morning, Helen. So one, maybe two at the most. And that's because as a small business, you don't have the resources to create lots of different marketing messages for lots of different audiences. You just don't. And your marketing will end up sounding kind of a little bit all over the place. If you work for a big organization, like at the beginning of my career, I worked for Boots the Chemist. We had loads of them because there was a massive team where you could kind of create lots of different individual personalized marketing messages. So I think the first thing to think about is if you're a small business, you really want to try and hone that down to one, maybe two at the most of people that you want to buy your products or people that need to buy your products. And for me, the first thing that starts off with, what's the problem that you're solving? Who's got that problem? Like just a really simple question.
So we've got a few people watching live now anyway. So anyone that's across the 3 channels, so anyone that's watching, do you have a customer persona already? Do you understand what they mean for your business? Is this an exercise that you've already completed? Interested to know if you just want to hit it in the comments.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so first of all, start thinking like, this is my business. This is the problem that it solves. Who has that problem? It's not possible that everybody with a debit card or a credit card is going to have that problem. So just start from that point. What's the problem? And then I think the next thing to do is, well, we know that these are the type of people who have the problem. So Helen Woodford has just written retired ladies. Brilliant. I can see them. Like you want to be able to see them, don't you? Like lining up or reading your posts or getting excited about what you're talking about, and kind of have that like emotional, visceral thing to those customers. So what's the problem that your business solves? Who's got the problem? And then really think about what are they moving from and what are they moving to? So what's the pain? What are they trying to avoid? What's the difficulty that they're having? What's their version of hell? And then map that out and then think, well, once they've used my service, what's their version of heaven, nirvana, when all their problems are solved? And basically businesses are bridges, aren't they? They take people from the point where they don't want to be, the hell, the problem. They use your service or buy your product, and then they get to this point of nirvana and yeah, everything's fabulous. And I think thinking about it in terms for me, in a visual way kind of really helps. So yeah.
I think the whole point about them, they are supposed to be visual. It is supposed to be almost become a person that you can identify with.
Yeah.
So if you're a brand new business and you haven't got any customers yet, then you can almost start to think not just about necessarily why they would buy from you, but then you can almost start to give that person a name. What do they like outside of buying your services, or like where do they shop, what do they like golf or whatever, and you can start to build up that customer persona. If you've got customers already, then you can start to analyze your existing customers and look for patterns across them and build them in that manner. So you might find that, you know, if someone was to build a persona on me, put myself out there, what do I like? Interested in technology, you know, that kind of stuff, like early adopter, entrepreneur. Like, it's not necessarily just the things that what I do as a business, is what do I like outside of that? Like to DJ, those sort of things. So you can start to build up this picture, and then the idea is there will be other customers like me that exist out there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good to sort of have a route around. And like you said, if you've already got a business, you can look at you can look at the people who are already following you. So go and look at your followers on Facebook. If you know some of them, go and look at the other pages that they're following. Go and look at the type of things that they're talking about. And you can kind of do the same on LinkedIn and the same on Instagram. The more insight you have into those people that you love working with, the better, because you'll be able to start creating messages and content that makes them go, oh, they're talking to me, they get me, they understand my problems. And that's what you want. Like, if you send an email and you get a load of responses going, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed to hear today, then you know you've like hit the jackpot. You're almost, you know, you're in tune with that customer. And you can think, you know, they're a certain gender or they're a certain age group, you know, where are they financially? Like, you know, it will depend on how you price your services, thinking about your customers as well. You know, are you a high-end product where people are professional, wealthy people that buy your products, or is it kind of quick win, short payment bursts of people that are at the other end of that with little money? So thinking about those things as well help you start to think about where you position your products in the market. But I think really getting to that idea of where do they want to be? Where do they want to be? What's exciting to them? So if people were like using you as the customer persona, Bertie, it's great to know that you have a family, that you like DJing, you've got a dog, you know, you're into technology, you're an early adopter. But what do you want from life? Like, is it simplicity? Is it ease? Is it more money? Is it happiness? Is it a better, fitter, healthier body? Is it, I don't know, whatever that might be? Like, what is it that you want to get to? And when we
don't know, Debbie, there's too many questions.
You don't need to answer it, but I think they're the questions you want to be asking, isn't it? Like, exactly. You know.
And they're the problems that you would solve for me as a business. So, yeah, but understanding me, or understanding exactly what that customer does and what they're interested in, will then help you shape that proposition. And that's the important thing. It's a step that people miss. Really, it's almost like, oh, you know, we're too small a business, we don't necessarily need to worry about that. Like what Helen sort of said, like she's targeting retired ladies. So you've already got a section of that, Helen. You've got the age range potentially in there. Yeah. And then, but you can start to take that the step further then. So if you understand what you're offering as a business, then understanding what those people look like that are going to buy from you is the next step. So that retired lady actually then can start to have a name. They can be interested in X, Y, and Z. And then you can start targeting those people specifically. And then once you have one persona, you might go for the low-hanging fruit initially, but then you'll start to develop other personas that you can start to target. And it might be a completely different set of advertising that you'd use for one persona. Well, it would be against another. So it just stops this scattergun approach. It helps you become really, really targeted, really niche with your advertising, social targeting, etc. So obviously it costs less and gets better results.
Yeah, and you really, you want people to stop scrolling or to see you or to find out about you and be like, oh, I'm interested in that. And I know Helen's business. It's a fabulous business. It's a Create Art School, and she runs art schools for people. And I did a post on Instagram this week, and it was sell them what they want, give them what they need. And you know, what Helen is offering is art, but really it's, you know, a place to meet people, a thing to do, a way to feel like you're learning something different, that you're expanding your knowledge and feeling confident about yourself, and there's growth, and there's all those other lovely things. So sometimes you've got the product, but you've got all these extra things that go around it, like an onion, these layers that entice people in. And the more you understand who the client is and what they're looking for, the more you can add that to your product. People don't just generally buy a thing because it's the thing. It's what it says about them, or what they're going to get from it, or the status they're going to get from it. And that's the stuff that's like really juicy in marketing. So get to know those customers, like talk to your customers, like what's important to you, where do you want to be in 5 years time? So Helen's just said spot on, yay. But that's the juicy stuff, isn't it? Because it gets quite boring, doesn't it? Then you're just like selling the product constantly, you know, buy a car, buy a car, buy a car. It's not buy a car, it's buy a status symbol, or buy something that's going to get your children to school safely, or buy something that's got an amazing stereo so you can drive around driving everybody mad in the summertime. You know, it's something else other than just the car, isn't it?
Exactly. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Brilliant.
So what's Katie just said? Great live. It's something we always need reminding. Don't get lost in trying to sell to everyone. Exactly. And it goes back to this wonderful thing, like be Marmite. Don't try and be something to everybody. You know, not everybody will love your approach. Not everybody will love your product. But that's the key, isn't it? Be the thing that stands out. Like make people feel something. So Helen said, it's almost like I've learned from you, Debbie. It almost is like you have. Helen's a client of mine. So yeah, that's nice. I've taught somebody something. So yeah. Have we got anything to add before we kind of close this up, Bertie?
I think you just made a really good point about speaking to customers as well, because this is often a area that I see people are missing out on. So if you are stuck about maybe what your customer persona is, just actually ringing up, just pick up the phone, speak to some people that have bought from you, speak to people that have cancelled from you, speak to people that maybe didn't buy, and just ask them the reason why. Like, what have you got to lose? But this will help you shape. Once you start to see those patterns in those customers, it will help you then form that persona, because the people that didn't buy from you are just as important as the people that did. So then you almost create, well, it's a thing, a negative persona of people that you don't want to target. It was just with you saying about Marmite, that's important as well. But probably a much longer conversation for another day, because we've come up to time again. 10 minutes just goes like that, doesn't it?
Maybe next week we can speak about being more Marmite.
Be more Marmite, okay.
Be more Marmite. Maybe that's the topic for next week then. So should we do that?
Okay, let's do it. Be like Marmite.
Right. So join us next week for 10 minutes at 10 a.m. on Friday, where we're going to talk about being more Marmite. Let's do it.
If you're watching this in the replay, just hit the comments and we can always catch up with those next week. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us live. Debbie, thank you very much for your time again this morning.
Thank you for your time, Bertie. It's a pleasure.
And do the papers. And we'll see you again for 10 at 10 next week. 10 at 10. Dun, 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 dun.
Bye.
Bye.